on Monday, May the 22nd. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Please be seated. Ms. Como, are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda?
No, there isn't. Chair, roll call, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. Stephanie, if you will, please, roll call.
Sure. Board Member Galvin.
Here.
Board Member Keys. Here. Board Member Derzulme.
Here.
Board Member Bieneme. Chairman Joseph.
And I understand the mayor, the chairman, is in the building. He'll be here momentarily.
Okay. You have a quorum.
All right. Now, there are no additions or deletions to the agenda. Let's start with item A.
Approval
Sorry,
of the
sir,
minutes.
Item 3, approval of the minutes.
Sure. I don't have an agenda in front of me. I'm flying blind, so don't worry. It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Spring. All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from April the 12th?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman DeSulme. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Keys. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Agenda item 1, Mocha Plaza design presentation by Leo Daly.
Yes. Good afternoon, Rasha Camo, CRA Director. The CRA Board had previously approved the renovation of the Mocha Plaza and the Mocha building. We've already painted the building, and we were working on the other improvements to present to you. This is phase 2, which is the plaza itself. We contracted Leo A. Daly. The grant agreement was presented to you for approval, and Mr. Rafael Sixto is here to present the design.
Thank you. And as Mr. Sixto begins his presentation, I'm going to turn control of the meeting back over to Chairman Joseph, who has just joined us. Welcome, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. Very exciting project. My name is Rafael Sixto. I'm principal of Leo A. Daly Architects in Miami. With me today is also Ralph Fleitas, project architect. So I'd like to first of all express the fact that we take this project seriously with great care. The plaza is the living room to the city of North Miami, and it's an important civic space. With that said, the goals we received coming into the project are as follows, or at least the primary goals. Improve the footing of the pavers. There are gaps in the pavers. Improve lines of sight to the showmobiles that are put there during times of special events. And also refresh the plaza appearance, renovate it, make it festive. So with that, we always like to go back and look at history and how this project was originally designed, what the stakeholders had in mind. We respect that. We are cognizant of it. Concentric paver patterns within a grid. Obviously, the need to maintain lines of sight to the museum entrance. A number of date palms were included into the project. And we look at also, obviously, the current conditions of the plaza. The fact that there are 14 date palms remain. The pavers have been repainted, not necessarily the best maintenance condition. I spoke to the large gaps that exist in between the pavers, women in high heel, obviously with not comfortable condition. The current condition also shows we obviously have to be cognizant of a budget and the existing infrastructure that exists. There's a tremendous amount. Below the pavers, there's a 2-inch sand bed, and then below the sand bed, there's a 8 to 12-inch lime rock base, which can take vehicular traffic. But there's also a lot of infrastructure within that lime rock base, existing conduits, existing drainage systems. So we want to be respectful of that and not just come in and bulldoze the entire plaza. We want to keep all that infrastructure in place. What does that mean? One has to maintain the existing outlet locations for the light bollards. One has to maintain existing drain locations. We have to make sure that there's positive drainage to the existing drain locations. So we're bound by a certain number of parameters because of the budget condition, right? and also to be respectful of history. So we know that a lot of the light bollards have peeling paint, are in disabuse. There's a tremendous amount of racking of these. They need replacement, and we're recommending replacement. The date palms, we looked at various options to replace, including royal palms, but at the end of the day, we just couldn't bring ourselves to recommend knocking these beautiful, elegant date palms. So when one talks about, let me go back a little bit, knowing the existing conditions and the history and the budget, one has to then look at design, and what does one start with? One starts with materiality that ultimately leads to paving patterns, the design of the hardscape itself, and so we have looked at conditions that could work well in this plaza, two-tone paver patterns. We have looked at light fixtures and bollards that are aesthetically in keeping with the contemporary architecture of the Museum of Contemporary Art, as well as with the kind of progressive nature of what is happening there. We are looking at bollards light bollards, the low ones that are aluminum bodies and with a stainless steel hardware. So we want to make sure that these are long-lasting and quality. And for the north-south connector walkway that connects 125th Street to the police station and the parking lots to the south of the MoCA, we're looking to demarcate that linear circulation pattern with the light bollards. We're also looking at uplighting the date palms so that they glow and, again, create a festive atmosphere. And so therefore, you see the plan that we've come up with that shows a transition, if I may, between the paver colors that, see if I can point here. If you see, follow the arrow here. So there's a transition of the dark gray colors, which I'll talk to in a moment, of the pavers that we've selected, with a stipple pattern bleeding out into a white field, not white field, but really an ivory colored field. We've maintained the location of the existing light bollards. We've maintained the location of the existing drains, which are barely visible here. And like I said, the original design was based on a grid. So whoops, didn't mean to go there that quickly. The original design was based on a grid. The drains are laid out on a grid. The light bollards are laid on a grid. The date palms are laid on a grid. And so we're wanting to take advantage also of the special characteristics of feature walls, such as the round element here adjacent to the entrance. We want to take advantage of special lighting at the feature wall, which enunciates the kinds of exhibits that are taking place, and possibly even on the west side, on the east side, where we could light some of those walls as well, because we know that some functions occur there as well. We obviously needed to consider the location of the showmobile, which could be either here in a north-south direction immediately east of the City Hall, or it could also occur, let's see, where's that mouse? Anyway, it could also occur in a diagonal pattern in the corner. So we've taken care to propose relocate some of these date palms from that kind of northeast corner of the plaza, so you can have a really substantial size showmobile in a diagonal location, or you can place it kind of east-west, or you could place it kind of north-south. So there's a lot of opportunities there, all the while maintaining lines of sight, the date palms, very, very elegant, and at the same time, maybe changing. We know that there's some oak trees here existing, and all of these 7 oak trees in front of the restaurant are existing. We would propose that same vocabulary continue down the north-south walkway. Around the circular fountain, we're proposing foxtail palms, which are a little bit, oops, there we go again, a little bit different than the vocabulary of the date palms, but there are foxtail palms in other parts of the complex. So turning to the paver, which is an important, obviously the most extensive amount of material is at the pavers, and if we could maybe zoom in on this. So we're proposing two colors, the charcoal gray and the ivory. These pavers are manufactured with compressed pour concrete, so they weather very well. It's not porous brick. It's a little bit better than just porous brick concrete pavers. But they have a beautiful inlay of shellstone, and I think it works well. It speaks to Florida and South Florida and North Miami. So these are the two colors we propose. There's an opportunity perhaps for the lighter color being a little, instead of the ivory, the tan. There's a tan color that we also brought with us if you'd like to see that. But so in short, what the plaza would look like with the feature walls highlighted in color. We would have wall-mounted color illuminations that these can change colors. They have controllers that can be any number of colors that we just showed magenta because I happened to have visited here on a Friday evening, and they had all these movable lights with cords, extension cords all over the floor. We obviously want to get rid of all those extension cords, all those movable lights. We're going to have permanent lights in the feature walls. We're going to have the new bollards installed with the kind of the north-south connecting walkway from 125th Street being the taller ones. We want them to obviously increase the plaza a little bit in the triangle area, just by right in this area. We're proposing to relocate there's an existing kind of electrical panel here that's an eyesore. We're wanting to move it over to the green area, and it's not shown here, but it would be landscaped. And also, well, you see the foxtail palms around the water feature. You see the row of oaks along the north-south walkway, and the date palms, and the fact that in the northeast corner of the plaza, as you can see, plenty of room for the showmobiles to take place. This is showing the plaza with the white light, but you can also, under more festive circumstances, you can change colors, blue and red, or in Haitian celebration, Haitian American, and also the kind of like the pattern of the plaza as it goes from gray to bleeds out to an ivory white condition. So these are the 3 or 4 palms that are going to be relocated away from the northeast corner to allow for the showmobile. They're going to be relocated to other parts. We're using all 14 that remain. So that's the final landscape plan with the locations of the palms, the date palms, some of the low shrubbery material. Jim Santiago, our landscape architect, I notice is here. I don't know, Jim, if you want to say anything, but pretty much the ground cover, very minimal ground cover in the triangulated green areas, and it gives you a sense of what we're proposing, obviously to maintain lines of sight. And that's it. Thank you very much. If there are questions, I'm happy to take them.
Mr. Chair, this item was presented at the advisory committee, and I wanted to read for the record some of the suggestions that were made, and the advisory chair is here as well. One, they had some concerns about the white pavers, and that we discussed it with the architect about making it a little bit darker so that it can, doesn't look,
When was the
dirty.
meeting for the advisory committee?
Last week, Monday.
Would be good if we could have a copy of it, prior to this meeting. I mean, if we're going to follow their advice, would be nice for us to have an opportunity to read and absorb what they're advising us, not decide just, in a couple of seconds.
Mr. Chair, this item is literally just the presentation, so if today we can start to get some of your feedback over the next few weeks, we can get more.
No, but reading the reports of the advisory board is not germane to this meeting. I don't think so. I mean, if anything, it will be a presentation from the advisory board to us.
Yeah, if that's your wish, we can have that.
Yeah. Mm.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask I have two questions. How long is the term of this project and what's the cost?
The budget that was approved was $400,000 for it,
For what?
for the renovation of the plaza.
Is
And
it, wait. Does that 400 included just for the landscaping, or what is the
No, they're
400
replaced.
entail?
They're replacing the entire,
pretty much,
all of the paved area in front of the museum. They're replacing the entire thing and all the way down the side of the building towards the police station.
And that's
The light.
400.
33.
Okay, wait. So the entire removal of the pavement and the landscaping is
And the lighting-
400,000.
And the lighting.
And okay, my next question would be, what I've always said when we have these type of presentation, echoing what the mayor's saying, it would be very helpful if we have. I need to know who are the other folks who bid for this. I'm just mind-boggling. $400,000 for, based on that description. I thought
Well-
that included the painting, and I know we had budgeted the AC and some other stuff. So that's just a standalone. I'm assuming this $400,000.
Yes, just for the plaza. The painting was for the, is the Mocha building
Mocha.
part, and that we had separated that.
And you separately approved the selection of Leo Daly in one of your previous meetings based on
Based on,
yeah.
and how
Now-
long ago was that? If you don't mind.
Remember the
A year
time?
ago,
No,
a
not
year
quite.
ago?
Not quite.
September.
It was December when we submitted our, yeah, so it was around December.
Good evening, Jeff Geimer, Capital Project Manager. This was brought to you in your meeting in, the first meeting in December. So
Okay.
your meeting in December, there was only
So
one meeting.
6 months prior.
And this was only for the architect. We
The
do
architect.
not have contract bid
Yeah.
prices for this project. The 400,000 is what was approved by the board as a
So
budget.
it was a bit. So it was more an RFQ type of deal.
Just for Leo Daly services. Now
see.
we would have to go out and do a selection for the actual
So
work.
how
to be
how were
done.
they selected?
They were selected through an
To an RFQ,
CCNA.
right?
Yeah. CCNA.
What is that, if I may ask? A piggyback?
Okay, sorry. No, they were part, no, you know, I wouldn't say that word. They were part of the group of the pre-qualified list of consultants that were selected under CCNA, that was selected in 2015 by this council.
Okay. And this is the list where I guess we go randomly
That's correct.
and select, okay, that's fine. All right. Thank you.
Well, what about the fountain? Nothing is, it's not gonna be touched?
You mean the pond?
Oh, you call it the pond or the fountain?
It's not a fountain, it's a pond.
Oh,
Sir, if I may, part of it is the lighting around the reflection pond is going to be upgraded as well.
mhm.
As far as, and also the lighting that's on that wall that promotes Mocha. So there is going to be some lighting improvements, and it's going to really change the image in the evenings.
Doesn't it sometimes have a jet stream? There's a jet stream sometimes, or a waterfall, yeah.
It comes off the,
That works only maybe one day out of the year,
works when we turn it on, but remember. when
especially during the Zika virus, during the Zika virus time, guys. I mean, this pond is like, for Mocha Plaza, I mean, we should have a comprehensive, if we're gonna do something, we have to do it right. I mean, just patching up things, changing pavers and putting palms is not going to, this is just camouflage. I mean, we have a pond, I mean, that, like you said, you call it a pond, and sometimes I even see algae growing in it. Sometimes.
Every week,
Hmm?
it's cleaned every week.
Yeah, but why isn't it operate? I mean, why doesn't it?
Well, keep in mind, Mr. Chair, we do use the wall where the water feature comes down as our advertising wall.
Mhm.
So when new exhibits are there, there's a banner that's placed there.
Yeah,
So
No, the waterfall doesn't cause any hindrance to the aesthetics of it. As a matter of fact, it beautifies it.
Well,
This is more artistic to me. This is a museum. You can have something that is not functional in front of a functional museum.
it is functional.
It's
so
not.
It does
If you're
function.
gonna do it, let's do it. Let's do it comprehensively. That's the way that I like to do things.
So are you suggesting that
Hmm.
you want to change the building now? Because the pond is part
Now
of
you're
the-
being very sarcastic, and
No.
that is not the proper answer.
You said.
No,
would do
it's
it
not the
correctly.
proper answer. That you're being sarcastic, and it's not the proper answer for this meeting. I'm just simply stating the fact that if we're doing a reparation or remodeling of the plaza, it should be comprehensive.
Well, the plan that you have in front of you was that you guys directed, which is just the plaza itself. You added to the scope of work as a board to take it down. The water feature and the pond are part of the building structure, and that's what I was saying. So if you want some of that change, we would have to get into a different, completely different scope of work. If that is the wish of the board, we can pursue that. But I'm going based off of the previous directive from the board to do the plaza and the plaza area.
Mr. Chairman, if the waterfall, if we want to see the waterfall on, can we just flip the switch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to.
No,
I agree. I'd like to see it on. And I was always under the understanding that it's not actually electrical, that it's based on water level and the pond. But I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
I'm
I'm
not-
not gonna
I'm not
belabor
sure.
it. I'm not gonna belabor it. But if there's a way to turn it on, turn it on. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
May I ask a couple questions? What is the survival rate of those palm trees by moving them?
Prior to planning this out, we consulted with a couple of large tree movers, and they're pretty confident that, given they're only moving a little bit, and with the equipment they have and the location that they can get to, the way they can get to them, that there's a very high survivability rate.
Okay, so we're talking about more palms around the fountain, and I think that our new LDRs are talking about we're not supposed to be planting any more palms. They're really not native. Is that, we take that into consideration? Are they, the palms we are gonna be native, not, okay. 'Cause there's no shade, what are we doing about shade in that plaza, anything?
So we consider, besides the royal palm, actual trees, and we got away from that recommendation because of the lines of sight to the showmobile. We do see that these date palms do provide a certain amount of shade. They have big crowns, so it's obviously, it's spotty, but if I had to guess, it would probably be between 30 and 40% shade of the plaza. That's definitely, the trees don't make sense there, and the maintenance and the dropping.
No, I just wondered if we had any, I don't do this, are there any kind of shade structures or little,
It's, good evening again, and what the intention is to maintain the image of the plaza and not completely take out the trees that are existing. And in order to maintain lines of sight, it's a very active plaza. We probably have about 30 events in that plaza a year, and I
least.
think we've just added another dozen as well. And with the relocation of the showmobile towards City Hall on a more permanent basis, we really had to keep things open so you can maintain those lines of sight.
Okay.
When the showmobile was over where Cafe Creme is, it was a more open area. You didn't have the trees there that would interfere with the views of the performers. And we have to be very careful with that. If we bring in any structures or any shade trees, the shade trees would be a lower canopy and a wider base, and they would really interfere with your lines of sight. So we're trying to be
Thinking
cautious with that.
more of, I don't know if there's any kind of shade umbrellas, permanent umbrella fixtures that could go up and down, maybe, I don't know if there's anything out there that would act like a umbrella that could be open, that would be part of the lighting pole or something. I mean, just,
No, I understand.
I've never
I'm-
seen it, but it would be a nice thought to have some shade there. Also, I agree, when they put the light pavers downtown, I mean, people just could not believe we did it, and they immediately turned dirty. And then we spent a fortune having to steam clean them all the time. So the light, while they're beautiful, don't make sense in that plaza. Because it's just gonna be, the maintenance is gonna be incredible, unless it's something that they don't soak in the dirt. You know, if they just wash off, great, but our downtown pavers light just, I think we're a mistake. And the last question, I guess we're not doing it, I have been requesting over the years that we enlarge the walkway, the north-south walkway to the police station, to give us a few more feet, to give us more actual plaza space, where we could use that west wall of the museum for a screen, a movie screen, or even be able to put a show. We have actually put the showmobile on that side and had events on that side, and if we don't need so much driveway over there, and I was hoping to enlarge that north-south to make MoCA larger.
If I may, we did look at that, and unfortunately, in order to widen that, it would really impact the drainage, because if you recall, the area in front of Cafe Creme was a street, and we still have the drainage flow that runs from south to north through the two drainage structures. If you go there, there's grates that cover that. In order to permanently close off that area and brick it and raise it and make it wider, the executive director did bring that to our attention, and we did originally look at that. There was a substantial cost increase to the project, and it would not fit within our $400,000 scope. So we had to abandon that, but we did look at possibly, closing that off with some type of bollard. That was discussed, that we could do that. It wouldn't bring it to grade
Right.
of the existing pavers. But we are still able to actively program that area, where now if we brought the showmobile in by where the police department is, there's going to be a large open area that we didn't impact. And I think you could see that in the presentation that was done, where we stopped the oak trees. We did 3 oak trees and didn't intrude on that area, so we could use that as a secondary location as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also add to that, through the chairman, the issue of lighting up the one wall, they're adding lighting fixtures on that, I guess I'm gonna call it the west wall, out as you go towards the police department.
Okay.
So
Oh.
there'll be a lighting feature added there.
Thank you. One last question. We lit up the plaza for the holidays, and it was fabulous. We had little twinkly lights all over the place. It lit up the plaza. A lot of people, including the owners of MoCA, were thrilled. A lot of people wanted to keep that lighting, and we took it down because we were renovating. But the look of that plaza kept it light, it kept it inviting, where people were constantly in the evening going back and forth on the plaza. They're walking through our parking lot over here by City Hall, through the police. It was a very inviting, light space. So I'm hoping that the lighting we have, you use the word festive, but the twinkling lights and everything were just so spectacular there. I'm hoping we were going to be able to keep some nice lighting there.
We did, and one of the things that was presented was uplighting on the existing trees, where they wouldn't be at ground level, but they would be at a height, say 8-9 feet up, and then light the area upwards. So that would be, we would be lighting all of those date palms, as well as bringing lighting into underneath the oak trees as well. So we are looking at doing that. We understand that, and we got that direction from the executive director that we really needed to light up this plaza and bring it to life. And that's one of the things we're definitely looking at, as well as, washing the walls in the area with light as well. This project is geared more towards the plaza and MoCA, but the city manager has brought to my attention on a different note that he is looking into lighting in as City Hall as well. So we're going to, the specifications that we get for the lighting on the MoCA we're going to get some cost numbers to do that for City Hall as well, and that may be something that's presented to you through the city budget in an upcoming, in next year.
Because we had those really nice lights we had for a couple different events that we
Understood.
did the colored lighting on City Hall. It was fabulous. People were just like, it was really nice. So I'm hoping we can continue doing.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a couple questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I don't understand where the showmobile will now go. Can you explain that a little bit more in
Can you
detail, please?
Raphael, can you pull up the slide that shows the showmobile? The showmobile is going to go closer to City Hall.
She needs to transfer.
It's going to go closer to City Hall and 125th Street. What we're going to do is, you could see the outline of what a box, and that's really the showmobile. So it's going to be placed on an angle,
So is
kind
the-
of facing the
Is the
plaza.
bottom, I'm not, because there's no north, south, east, west on this map, right, that I get, I just
This
don't.
is the north. This is the
That's
north.
City, okay, so that's 125th Street, okay.
It can be, and we looked at this when we're in the office, it can be positioned in that diagonal direction, or it could be shifted so it's at a right angle to the street, to 125th Street, and face straight out that way. So we can move it around a little bit.
And if we go toward if the city goes toward a bond item and a MoCA expansion is approved, I don't know if you're even thinking about that as being one of the projects, but how does a new MoCA fit in with this? We're not gonna be tearing this back up in 2 years to expand MoCA or something like that, right?
Quite honestly, I haven't really delved that deep into it. My thought in walking the facility, there's quite a bit of space to the rear of the museum. If you know where there's a generator back there right now in a real huge grassy area, where just in front of where the employees' parking is. We would also, because of the garage projects that we're talking about, we will be able to relocate. We actually continue to go back towards that city parking. So that will probably be part of the expansion area. As I think we've seen a couple of renderings prior with working with the mayor, a city hall would kind of wrap around that space. So, you know, that's kind of the first thought, is to go back, and maybe we do another wing on a second or third or fourth floor of a new municipal building. So we're looking at a couple options, but obviously it's something that we would need to sit down and get full stakeholder feedback on.
And
It's
just
not bad.
historically, the palms that died,
Over
the-
time.
yeah, and actually a lot of them died pretty quick after being installed 10 to 15 years ago now. So it's just something to keep in mind, because they didn't take as well. I don't know if there's a different type of
They
palm.
actually got a disease,
Is that what happened?
and that's what happened, and it kind of spread from palm to palm. You know, kind of how the whitefly would jump, and then you'll notice we haven't lost any of those palms in
Right.
several years
Right.
now, and that's what happened with the ones that we lost.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And technically, the plaza does carry the name Sherman Wynn
Sherman Wynn Plaza, yes.
So I didn't know if this would be the time to sort of dust that off and bring it back, and include I don't know, a marker or something like that on a wall or something like that. But
We're
I don't-
aware, yes.
yeah, okay. I think that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Now, what do we do at this point? This is just a presentation?
Right
or-
now is the presentation. What we can do, based on your comment, we can have the advisory board, I guess, give you a formal report at the next meeting. And we can continue to brief with you, get your any additional individual feedback that we can give to the architect. From there, we would need to go into solicitation of the actual work and look at the bids, which I think speaks to Member DeSume's point, and making sure, when you hear the number, it sounds.
Yeah, in the
Sounds
past, we
big,
used
yeah.
to have like a little briefing. I don't know about you. I think all of us used to have this little briefing on, CRA meetings, from the advisory board.
Okay.
What
So
they,
we'll add, I
what they
think what we should,
recommend and so forth prior to our meeting. That way we have a more, we have more insight into what we're getting into and so forth. So
what I can do, if you want, I can add it as maybe a regular agenda item presentation from the advisory, like our advisory board report or something of that nature?
No, it could be from our coordinator. I
Okay.
mean, it's up to you.
Okay.
I mean, as long as we get it.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay. Mm. Yeah. So item 2?
Yes.
Mm.
I'd like to present Mr. Thomas Williams from HCT, who will be doing the presentation for our independent audit for fiscal year 15-16.
Is it Mr. Daly or Mr. Daly? Thank you very much, Mr. Daly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Harvey. As we were preparing for the meeting, he got called out to an emergency, so he asked me to come in his stead and present the audit results for the fiscal year 2016 for the North Miami CRA. This is a brief overview of what this presentation will be about. The first couple of slides are some introductory information that I'm probably going to breeze through because it's information that you already know. And then we're going to go over the audit result with the audit opinion, look at some of the numbers as comparative to 15 and 16, go into the management letter comments, and then any questions or comments you had, we will do that at the conclusion. Again, this is the purpose of the North Miami CRA. List of you, the board, and the advisory board. And now on to the meat of the presentation. For fiscal year 16, we have an unqualified opinion, meaning the statements are presented fairly in accordance to generally accepted accounting principles. Now to look at some numbers from 15 and 16, one thing I did want to highlight, you'll see in 15 for assets held for resale, that number of 652,000. During the year, there was looked back at some of those assets and saw that 500K of them were impaired. And so in 16, you'll see that number you'll see that number as 133,000, which was the recoverable value in 2016. Now take a look at some of the revenues and expenses. One thing that you will highlight is the CRA did do more and spent more to beautify and bring up the tax value of the city. And so as you spend more and you raise some of that tax value, you receive more dollars. And that's what this that's what this is highlighting. You'll see as compared to last year, expenses of 900,000, there was $1 million spent. And so you'll see the revenues increase this year. Just to take a look at the budget to actual comparison for 16, you will see that although the budgeted revenues fell short of that, we were able to save some money with the spending, and you will see the increase in net position of the $1 million. On to the management letter comments. There were none from last year, so we don't need to spend any time there. And for the current year, there were no findings, no material weaknesses, or any comments of improvement needed. The staff does a very good job, and we want to commend them for that. And so now if there are any questions, comments, concerns, any clarifications that we need to provide.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Very quickly, just so that we're clear, this is a basically an unqualified opinion, so a good opinion on the financials for the CRA. So I just want to make that point very clear.
Yes, sorry if I didn't make that clear in my presentation, but yes.
15, 16, right?
Yes, sir.
So, were there any actions? Everything was okay?
Everything was okay. I had my colleague Charles with me. He was out here doing the grunt of the work, and no comments. No, everything was okay.
Well, I'd like to compliment our staff for turning our CRA around and not having a bad audit. And things that we should be doing. So, thank you. Good job.
Thank you very much for your time, and at this time, if there is no more comment on this item, we'll move to item 3.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Resolution to approve memorandum of understanding with 859 notice, 125th Street LLC.
Yes.
That's the name of the corporation?
Yes, that's the name of the corporation. The individual's name is Gary Rubenstein. He owns the property where Gary Rubenstein Antiques is located, and he's west of Canal Sucre. This memorandum we were supposed to bring to you a few months back when we presented the ones for Goslin and Farr Building. This is to authorize us to enter into a negotiation to purchase the property. Mr. Rubenstein was not available at the time, and he's been very positive about it. However, today he's not able to make it because he's having back surgery. He sent us an email stating that he is, as soon as the board approves it, he's willing to sign the MOU and to start negotiations.
So what's the scope of the MOU again?
Mr. Chairman, it's the same document that you've seen and approved previously. It allows the staff and the attorney to enter into negotiations with the property owner to fashion some sort of transaction where the CRA could potentially purchase, lease back, or enter into some sort of public-private partnership to redevelop the property in accordance with our redevelopment plan.
That's west of Canasuc up to what? Up to Bernardo?
Yeah, it's west of Canal Sucre. It's like 3 bays, 3 folios.
3 folios?
Yes, and up. It's actually, unfortunately, it ends in the middle of the block.
Right.
And we've already entered into agreement with the other property owner, IMC Equity, which is west of it. So this was the only piece that was missing. There's Haute Marché
Is that the rental, is it the men's
The antique
rental?
stores.
There's a Gary Rubenstein Antiques. There's a Haute Marché consignment store. So that's that strip.
And it gives us basically 6 months to move forward with this property owner.
Any comments, questions? So we would enter into this MOU to develop that.
Well, the MOU is to sit down and negotiate the same that we're doing next door with Urim and Clark Reynolds. We proceed we get appraisals, and then we try to come up with a redevelopment plan that works for both. I will say that Mr. Rubenstein actually flew in town a few months back, very excited about doing business with us, with the CRA, because he saw the direction that we're going in. So.
But did he propose any possible
right
project?
now, well, he's had some offers come in to purchase his property that were actually, in my opinion, very lucrative proposals to him. But he sees the city's vision. Mayor, these are those renderings that were at your State of the City, and he sees it. He wants to help us make it happen. So. He's willing to look at not having as much space. We present, each time we sit down with these folks, we present either a straight out purchase, a lease, or some type of partnership, and he's expressed openness to consider all 3 methods. So just a matter of sitting down with them and getting, kind of getting the business. And this document basically cooperatively says he's not going to sell the property to anyone else. While we go through this process.
Okay. So I guess this is something to vote on?
Yeah, we need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor by Board Member Galvin, seconded by Chairman Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Item 4.
Mr. Chair, item 4 was meant to be an update on the process with regards to our, we have a deadline with the county to reconsider the geographic boundaries of the CRA. As the CRA board and as the city council, you already voted and we actually voted to amend the approval of the Second Amendment to strike that particular provision. We have advanced that legislation to the county on late Friday afternoon, and just a little change. The county attorney's office, in preparing the item to be presented to the board, actually forwarded to the city a third amendment to the interlocal that reads consistently with what you already approved. So on the city attorney side, they felt that the resolution that you had previously passed kind of gives me the go-ahead to at least execute the item, and then we'll bring it formally back for a ratification. What I'm asking you to do tonight to kind of expedite the process, if you would consider a resolution that we want to pass out for you to go ahead and, as the executive director of the CRA, give me the authorization to execute the third amendment, which has the, which redacts the provision that we did not want, which is the geographic boundary. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Exhibit A.
So, in other words, the county has taken out the provision in the interlocal that says we need to shrink the size of the community redevelopment area. They agreed with us. They took it out. In order for them to bring it forward to the county commission, we're on a tight time frame, and they need both the city and the CRA to sign the agreement before they'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
So that's why we're here tonight. We have a brief resolution we would like you to adopt, authorizing the executive director and the chairman to sign the third amendment to the interlocal agreement.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion on the floor by Board Member Desulme, seconded by Board Member Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 4-0.
Thank you.
So you need my signature now?
Yeah, I'll get
Yes.
it for you before you walk.
This one?
No, we have the,
Give it to me.
All right. I just have a very
So,
brief report. Now that the legislative session has ended, I'm pleased to report, and I'm sure it was due to the resolution that the city and the CRA adopted, that the legislation known as the CRA killer bills did not pass either the House or the Senate. So we live to fight another year in this particular case, with the understanding that the forces that put those bills out this year will be back next year and do the same thing. So we are extended at the moment to 2044, and we hope that in the coming years the legislation will allow us to keep that. And if we're going to do any bonding, we should do it sooner than later, so that, you know, we are kept alive in order to pay our debt service. But we live to fight another day, as they say. And that is it from my report.
Any other report?
Just to announce that the Thursday, May 25th at 5:30, we are holding our second Chinatown Cultural Arts Master Plan Committee Workshop. It's at the Gwen Margolis Community Center. We will be also live streaming it. If people from the community cannot attend, they can watch it live stream. That's about it.
Talking about the MOUs, I mean, this MOU we did with Sacred Heart, the guy, Mr. Roland Gonzalez, who did the food distribution for us with Farm Share and so forth a couple of weeks ago, he said he is yet to receive the original of that MOU, of that executed MOU, which we voted on unanimously, and we made a lot of effort at the food distribution for him to get it. DCM was there, he went upstairs, and I was under the understanding that he got it, but I learned last Friday that he didn't get anything. It's been over a year now he's been asking for it, and he needs it because every municipality that he has an MOU with, Farm Share needs to have it for them to continue to subsidize them with the, you know, with whatever agricultural goods that he receives, so.
yeah, I thought it was taken.
No,
care of, but
he
I'll
needs
track- I'll-
an original.
original.
He
I'll-
needs one with original signature.
I will track it down and get it to him by tomorrow.
Yeah. We're now in a motion to adjourn.
One last thing, Mr. Chairman. I want to say congratulations to those members of the board who were reelected in the election about 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, yeah.
congratulations on your dominating wins.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.